Hello and welcome to another installment of the Lost in Possession podcast. Three mates, three different teams, and three very different opinions. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk all things City, who, despite bouncing back in the Premier League at the weekend, were very much distraught after their absolutely devastating performance against Real Madrid. We're going to dissect that completely and ask, will Pep ever win the big one? We're also going to discuss Rangers, who made their first European Cup final since 2008. It's an amazing achievement for them. So, of course, we'll shine the spotlight on them, and deservedly so. And we're also going to talk about the upcoming Premier League games. As we enter the final couple of games of the season, there are still a lot of questions that need to be answered. Will Man City get over the line and win another Premier League title? Or will Liverpool nick it against all odds? We, of course, still have relegation to talk, and, of course, the ever remaining question of who will get the fourth spot. Will it be Spurs? Will it be Arsenal? Or will both get it and Chelsea fall out altogether? Remains to be seen. Let's get the ball rolling. Jamie, we're going to address the elephant in the room here. Yes, you must be happy that you beat Newcastle, but of course you must be devastated after Rodrigo absolutely turned everything round in the matter of just seconds and knocked you out of the Champions League and left Man City asking, when will we ever win this trophy? You brought Pep in for that reason. He's not been able to deliver just yet. Haaland might hopefully be the final piece in the jigsaw. The stage is yours.
So I want to start off by saying I am disgusted that Jordan is wearing the Real Madrid top right now. What a scumbag. Just
one time only.
Let's get that out. He can wear it for the final now because we're not there, but right now, scumbag. I'll be honest with you. At the end of the game, I stared at my TV for 20 minutes and nothing was going on. Nothing in my brain was going on. I wasn't taking any pictures in. Whatever was going on that screen could have been anything. It wasn't going in. It was like mentally destroyed through that because they hadn't had a shot on goal until I think it was maybe the 86th minute, and that was a weak attempt. And then they go and score two. It just did not look like it was going to be happening. I thought we were in Paris. I weren't saying it out loud because I don't want to jinx it, and it didn't matter if I said it or didn't. It looked like it was jinxed. With the whole game. So the game was sort of like there wasn't a lot that went on, sort of which was beneficial to us with a 1-goal cushion. And like I said after the first one, being that 1 goal up, it still felt disappointing because we could have scored more. I still think we were the better team over the 2 legs. Irrelevant that we've gone out, kind of thing. We should have scored more than we did and didn't defend as well as we should have. We normally do. That's football. Real Madrid, this is their competition. They've won it, 13 times? We haven't won it. Maybe that played a part. You can argue that's what people will say. I just think it's something that happens in cup football. Just madness can happen much more than, say, in the league, which is why sort of what you said, Reece, was we brought Pep in to win the Champions League. I still think that's a complete myth. Obviously, we want to win it because we want to win every trophy. Pep's been brought in to improve us, to take us to that next level. Whereas under Mancini and Pellegrini, we were winning the league, but we won our first league with Mancini on goal difference. The Pellegrini one, we won it by a few points. It wasn't quite what we're seeing now, where you can argue we are the best team in the world. Okay, we've not got that one trophy, but like I say, it's a cup competition, and in cup competitions, the best team doesn't always win it. Now, you can argue Liverpool are the best team, or City, or you can say Real Madrid. But that's the way I kind of see it. It's a cup competition, and in cup competitions, stuff can happen. It's like one-off games can happen. If we played Real Madrid next week, we could go and beat them 4-0, just for an argument's sake kind of thing. It's just what happens on the day. Yeah, it was a distraught feeling. And once that second goal went in, it blew for full time. I said straight away to myself, just get it to penalties. I don't care. I'll take the penalties, because it didn't seem like we were going to come back from that shock and go and win.
It's hard at that point, isn't it, to recover mentally?
Now, I don't know what you two made of it, George.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got to take a minute to be a little bit smug. Obviously, when we did our predictions, I was very clear. You know, I did call the upset. I said why, I gave my reasons, and in the end, obviously, no one could have seen it being that dramatic in 4 minutes. But the reasons I gave were, City's lack of experience for some reason in that competition. I don't know why. Maybe a bit of a mentality issue. And on the flip side, as you've just said, Real Madrid's experience in that on the big European stage, time after time after time. So yeah, I did also call the 2-1 while we're on the subject, but obviously didn't back it. But I'll take the credit there. But I think Jamie, as you've said, this is going to hurt City. Obviously, they bounced back over the weekend of the league. No one really ever doubted that, I don't think, for a real second. But this is tough to take for City. I think to be that close, to a final in any competition is devastating. But to be that close on the big stage of the Champions League, all you've got to do is just take the ball to the corner. To concede one, even when you concede one, just kick the ball up and take it to the corner. So to not be able to hold on and to concede 2 goals in 5 minutes or 4 minutes, whatever it was, it's unacceptable for a club of that size. And as you said, a team who many would consider one of the best teams in the world, if not the best. But you need that European trophy to cement that for me. I guess we'll talk Pep as well. I've got a few bits to say on Pep. So controversial it will sound, but I think Pep Guardiola is a failure at Man City. Now, obviously, that's a bold statement, but I want to explain myself. So you touched on it, Jamie. I think City will win in leagues before Pep. City will win in FA Cups before Pep. And City will win in League Cups before Pep. So if the City owners are honest and with themselves, you're bringing in potentially one of the greatest managers in the world, or that's how he's been regarded. You're taking him, you're getting Pep in to take the club, as you said yourself, to the next level. Now, for me, the next level for City, the kind of the golden prophecy, as it were, is getting City that Champions League. It's a must. You have to win that to be considered one of the best of all time, which many would regard City are. But without a Champions League, without any European trophies, it's hard to make that argument. And, a couple of the stats, obviously he's been here, I think 6 years now. He's now, I think with the Grealish signing, he's now spent over a billion euros. We came on here and we talked about PSG. I called them an embarrassment for spending $1 billion and only getting to one Champions League final. But that's the same for City. And to then have that plus one of the best managers in the world in Pep's job, and in my opinion, the reason he came to City, he's a failure in that regard. However, there's no doubt that he's improved City domestically. City have been absolutely phenomenal in the league, FA Cup, Carabao. There's no doubt there. But for me, the one key goal he's been brought in for, he's fouled out. That's my thoughts on that.
So with that kind of thing Mourinho was a failure at Chelsea. Wenger was a failure at Arsenal. It's not just about this one trophy. I think it's a load of crap because Mourinho wasn't a failure at Chelsea. What he did was he took Chelsea to the next level. With Wenger, he had a sustained period where he kept Arsenal at probably the second best team in that era and did the Invincibles kind of thing. it's not down to just winning one trophy. Like I say, it's a cup trophy. Mad things can happen in cup games. You can get an easy side of the draw. You can get a difficult side of the draw. Look at Liverpool's sort of games to get there. Benfica, Villarreal kind of things. Like you take that, wouldn't you, on the side of a draw? I think to say he's done the same as Mancini and Pellegrini is sort of I think it's discrediting what he's actually done to the team. The whole sort of he's put in numbers that's not been seen before. You had the dominance of Alex Ferguson, and he didn't match these kind of records that Pep's done. And I just think to say he's a failure for not winning one competition, that one team can only win it a year. We've been close. It's like people think it's inevitable, but
it is a trophy. It is only one trophy, but it is the trophy. That's for me what defines teams at the very best in the world.
But it's not, because I think something Reece loves saying as well. The champions don't always, the best teams, sort of the champions, don't always win the Champions League. Look how many teams that have actually won the league and the Champions League, or even won the league before that season and got into it. It's not many. Real Madrid won theirs 3 in a row. I don't actually think, I'm not certain, they might have won one, but I don't think they won the league. They won one. They won, yeah. And it was Barcelona winning it. You can focus on a cup draw and ignore the league, whereas the league shows the consistency over a whole season, where you just got to turn up for like 3 or 4 games, and then you're in the final.
That's true. That's obviously true. Cup games are different, but cup games are still over 2 legs in the knockouts. You still play every team twice. So there is that degree as well. And you'd rather say, oh, well, let's take Real Madrid this year. I'd rather be Real Madrid. Obviously, Real Madrid could do both the league and Champions League, but I'd rather be Real Madrid and say we could be crowned champions of Europe, beating PSG, Chelsea, the holders, and Man City. That's better than beating Burnley 6-0 or whatever. You can't argue that. And for me, I think
I don't think that matters in the way of, if Liverpool go and win it in 2 years' time, no one's going to go, oh, Liverpool only won it because they got Benfica, because they got Villarreal. They won it. It's as simple as that. I don't think it matters who you play. But winning the league like Real Madrid have done, Real Madrid have shown they're the best team in Spain. Like, I don't think anyone can really contest that at the moment. Yeah. Whereas sort of, I think it shows we're the best team in England by winning the league. If we win the league, like, touch wood.
There's got to be a point though of diminishing returns for you. And obviously you're saying it doesn't matter as much, but like for me now, obviously as a Chelsea fan, obviously we won the Champions League last year. We've now ticked off all the boxes in terms of trophies, right? So for me, next season, I'd probably rather us win the league now because we haven't won it for a few years. Whereas for City, I feel like now you can't tell me that the benefit of winning a Champions League is less than winning a 6th league title. Do you know what I mean? There's a diminishing returns on that, surely.
I'd ask United. They still go on about how many trophies, how many titles they've won. So I don't think it is
and
true.
The treble as well. They go on about that.
Yeah, well, sort of like, yeah, they have. But obviously, generally, like, I'd only want to win the Champions League just to shut everyone else up. That's literally it. It's sort of like, I'm happy if you tell me we're going to win the Premier League next season and that's it. I'll take it. I'll take it now. We're more than capable for competing on 4 fronts like Liverpool are doing this season. We technically did last season, although it didn't get as hyped up as much because, we're not Liverpool. With the medias, and Pep's made some comments about that this week. But I think the league is the one that I still find is the most important out of it. Reece, you've been a bit quiet on this, listening to us sort of argue. What's your mate?
Just taking it in. I personally think that Pep hasn't been a failure, and I don't think he will be. I think what he's going to leave at City is a dynasty, which I think is a massive, massive thing. if you go back to your point, Jordan, about when you said how Mancini and Pellegrini were already winning trophies, they were, but they were winning one a time, and they won the leagues on the last day. If you look at Pep, he has taken City to a new level. Yes, he's got the money, but so did the others. It's what you do with the money that matters. He doesn't do what PSG do and they buy these huge superstars. Yes, Haaland is coming in, of course, and you would argue that Grealish was the big marquee name. But he improves all those players. He improves them all as a team and they play well together. And he has made that team better. And he doesn't just win one trophy at a time, he's winning two, he's winning three at a time. No one talks about the domestic quadruple. That's a ridiculous achievement that's never been done before. No one wants to talk about it, but it's a fantastic achievement. He's been convincing and he's made that team better. Yes, they need to get the monkey off their back with the Man City thing, and I believe they will. His failure to see that game out against Madrid is poor. Obviously Grealish was just a few millimeters away. That would have changed it.
But can you blame Pep on that?
Yes and no. I think any team would have crumbled when you concede like that. It is shocking. Look at Bayern Munich against Man U all them years ago. Look at what happened there. It's disappointing because when the one goal goes in and another one comes in, you can't account for that, and any team would crumble. But I think there was that opportunity there for Man City to just think, you know what, let's just take the sting out of it. Let's not even worry about it. But I think it's hard. I think obviously as the coach, you have to take responsibility, but I also think it was a freak incident, against any other team that wouldn't have happened. But he's by no means, he's not a failure by any means. And I think he will win the league, which I think will be a big thing because it stops Liverpool from winning it. And then he will go on next season with the addition of Haaland that could get them over the line. What's important is that at least they've been to a final and they've been to a semi-final. They're not getting knocked out of the quarterfinals or the group stages. They're getting there and they're really cementing themselves there as the team to overcome if you want to win it. I think that's what's important at the moment.
I think on that note as well, just with regards to added time, I think it's hard in that situation to say categorically, it's the manager's fault, they bottled it. Because obviously, as professional footballers at any level, National League, you'd expect a team to see out and not concede 2 goals. So, yeah. But then equally, if they get to the final, you're going to say, Pep's done a good job. So you've kind of got to blame both for me. And I think, Jamie, I guess your answer will be sort of never, but when is enough? Obviously, Pep's contract, looking earlier, I think expires 2023. So end of next season, I guess that would be. At what point do we say enough's enough? Because obviously he's done so well domestically. It's hard, with Haaland coming in, it's hard to see you not continuing that. But at what point does City or the City owners go, we've not won the Champions League year after year after year. We've been favourites probably four times out of maybe 6. We've spent over $1 billion. At what point do they say enough's enough? We need to freshen it up. Or do you think that would never happen? Or Pep would Pep would walk away? How do you see that playing out?
So what you keep saying about Haaland coming in, I think Pep's going to extend his contract. I don't think Haaland would come because he's looking for, I know you're going to say about the money, but I still think Real Madrid would offer the same-ish money. Chelsea possibly would, United. There's loads of clubs who are off the money. There's also the project. And I think if you Haaland go, Pep, I'm going to leave next season. Pep's going to leave next season. He's not going to come, I don't think. I think that's the way. So I think he's going to extend his contract. For enough is enough. I think you answered the question. I'm going to say never. If you're winning 4 out of 5 leagues constantly, I'm never going to say, actually, no, that's not good enough. Because when Pep leaves, there's going to be a drop, I think. You saw it at what Barcelona happened. But you could argue Bayern, there probably isn't. But with that league, it's so... it's just, there's no one really going to take over but Bayern sort of thing. But with Barca, you saw the drop. They got probably the best front three ever after Pep. and that was the only way they kept going and winning stuff. So never. I generally don't think if he goes into sort of like we're starting to come battling for fourth, not challenging for Champions League sort of stuff like that, that's a different matter. But when you're winning trophies, it's not broken. It's just not broken. You don't fix something that's not broke. So I'd say never. And then we've got players who are now, we're bringing in players who are younger. We've got Alvarez coming that everyone seems to have forgotten because Haaland's the bigger name and story, but he looks quite a good, serious player. We've got obviously Foden there, and there's a few coming through the academy. And I think Pep's looking at them and he's going, these can be the real deal. And I think he's going to stay for a few more years. I think he's going to do maybe another 4, and then we'll go from there. If we win another 2, say we win it this year, like I'm not saying it's done, win another 2 in the following 4, it's a phenomenal record that only Alex Ferguson can say, I've probably got a better record. Like Mourinho, as well as he's done, wouldn't have that longevity of it, if that makes sense. He's been sacked by Chelsea. I know there's a different sort of Chelsea sack managers for,
it's hard to.
Yeah, it's a different sort of thing. But if you go and win 6 out of 10 titles, it's just never a failure. I just don't see however it can be.
Reece, what's your thoughts?
I mean, just before we move on, of course, to the other topics in Europe, I think at the end of the day, the only thing that I'm going to see with Pep is that when he decides to walk away, just like he did with Barcelona, just like he did with Bayern, what's important is he set the dynasty there. Yes, a Champions League trophy would be great. Ferguson won 2, but his dynasty as a whole was much more important. If he can go out with 10 Premier League titles and 7 Carabao Cups and 6 FA Cups or whatever, that's much more impressive, and I'll give him his dues there. I think that's all I can see is perhaps him going. There's clearly a project at City, there's clearly a model, and it all relies on that. But it'd be interesting to see who they would eventually, of course, a few years down the line. Video for another day. Before we do move on to discuss the final and, of course, Rangers' achievement, I do want to acknowledge that interesting stat for Ryanair, where between 9:40 and 9:47 p.m. there was a 900% increase in bookings around the Paris area.
Jamie, one of them.
Yep, and there's, of course, no refunds or cancellations available. So there's going to be a very miserable band of Mancunians in Paris around this time, and I think it's quite funny.
I think it'd be. I don't think they'll go. I think there'll be empty flights.
You could bring the missus or bring your husband and make it a romantic trip just to mask the failure.
Or I guess let's sell them to the Scousers. It's the only other thing I think of.
Exactly. You might as well get something from them. Anyway, moving on. So before we look at the Europa League, we need to acknowledge the fact that Liverpool will play Real Madrid in a repeat of the 2018 final. Not much needs to be said. We know that Liverpool did overcome a scare, but we were pretty confident we're going to get there eventually. Who do we see winning this final? And, do we see perhaps another exciting encounter that we saw between City and Madrid?
I don't see anything but a Liverpool win. I really don't. I know it's going to sound bitter and everything like that, but Real Madrid are fortunate to be in this final. I think they've rode a lot of luck in some ways, scoring how they've done it against PSG, against Chelsea, and against us. It's all happened while being at home, really. I know Chelsea beat them, but to come back and then score the goal they did, I just see Liverpool beating them. I do. So it's a one-off game. It's in a neutral stadium. Yeah, I don't see anything but a Liverpool win.
I'll stay loyal to Madrid. I fancy them against City for the reasons I said. The momentum they've got, and what I would argue is obviously they've been behind every leg, right? So PSG over the 2 legs, probably better. Man City over the 2 legs, probably better. Chelsea over the 2 legs, probably better. But this is a one-off game. So if anything, they've got more chance of just taking that one-off chance in a one-off final. So I think in that sense, the odds are in their favour. Look, I hope Liverpool don't win, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But look, if it was based on who deserves to win it, I think there's absolutely no shadow of a doubt that beating PSG, Chelsea and City is significantly far more deserving of winning it than Villarreal, Benfica and Inter. So I'm gonna say Madrid and stay loyal. Although, I've got a feeling that Liverpool find a way. Sadly,
interesting stuff there. So I think we can't do this episode without acknowledging Rangers for getting to the final. I think a lot of people, well, us three in particular, thought they would fall at the hurdle against Leipzig. They didn't. They overcome it. West Ham, on the other hand, did not. So it'll be Frankfurt versus Rangers in the final. And as we know, Rangers do have a habit of beating the German sides. They've already taken Dortmund. They've taken the aforementioned Leipzig. It's now Hamburg that stands in their way. First of all, it's a great achievement.
We wish it was Hamburg.
Did I say Hamburg that stands in their way?
One day.
One day, maybe. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so it's Frankfurt that stands in their way. Do we see Rangers pulling off the impossible?
Yes. Why not? Why not? The only problem is they're not at Ibrox. I mean, wow. What a range of achieved is just absolutely silly. To beat Dortmund, ridiculous. And then, what was it? Braga, again, decent side. But to go and beat Leipzig, I mean, Leipzig probably, along with Dortmund, are probably the team that you'd argue are the ones who are close enough or closest to challenging Bayern Munich. And they absolutely tore them apart. Obviously, Leipzig got a goal back and made it a bit sweaty, but my word, we talk about, well, people, the media, whatever, talk about, Anfield being the 12th man. I don't think they've got anything on the Ibrox. I really don't. The fans were phenomenal. They got behind the team. The performance they put in was just unreal. And I hope, I think they deserve it to complete the job, basically knock off the whole of Germany. They'll probably take about 50,000 people to Seville. I think Rangers are more than capable of actually beating Frankfurt, who are 12th place, by the way, in the German league.
Yeah, I think Frankfurt have given up their domestic league to focus on Europa, which, considering they probably weren't going to get fourth anyway, to get Champions League, it's their best bet of getting there. Rangers, I'll be honest, I didn't watch either of the European games. I'm having a day off football after the Real Madrid game. I couldn't put myself through it. But if you go and beat Dortmund, you go and beat Leipzig, they're second and third best teams in Germany. You've got to fancy yourself against Frankfurt. Now, to be honest, I think Sevilla is going to be buzzing. Frankfurt, I saw their sort of fans they took to West Ham, and then you've seen Rangers have been like that for years. It's going to be buzzing around that place. Probably some parts for the wrong reasons, but I think in the stadium it will be such a great. I'll probably watch it more to hear the crowd than the football. But
I think there'll be a few Spanish policemen quitting their jobs in the next few weeks.
No.
Imagine trying to deal with that.
Annual leave request.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Rangers have got to fancy themselves. You get into the final, but to be honest, Frankfurt have got to. Frankfurt have beaten Barcelona, and then you're beating West Ham, who are sixth in the Premier League. You could argue Rangers might not even be able to do that. So I think both teams have got to think, this is a great draw. Let's go for it.
Yeah, both teams will absolutely fancy this. And I think Frankfurt this game will suit them a lot more because everyone's talking about Rangers, just like everyone was talking about West Ham, just like everyone was talking about Barcelona. That'll suit them down to the ground. They've upset everybody, and I don't see why they can't do this. But I think it'd be great for Scottish football if Rangers do win. Make up for the disappointment of them coming second, but then we'll get two teams from Scotland in the Champions League, and it will just give it a little bit more recognition that league does need. So I think if anything, it's going to be a really good tie. I think if anything, it might be more interesting than Real Madrid Liverpool, but remains to be seen. We'll discuss that more, I'm sure, in the build up to the game, and of course the Conference League. We'll see Roma versus Feyenoord, which I think also makes an enticing tie. Moving swiftly on then, we touched upon Man City bouncing back by putting Newcastle to the sword on Sunday. Puts them firmly in the driving seat to win the Premier League, but of course it is not all over, as they learned at the Bernabeu last week. Liverpool play Aston Villa. Liverpool desperately need to win. I think they've been a little bit shaky as of late, despite still winning games or not losing them. Can we see Aston Villa, a Steven Gerrard Aston Villa, doing a number on the Reds, or do we still think this would be a routine win for Liverpool that will put them more pressure on City?
Absolutely not. I think if it's 1-1 and it's the 90th minute, Gerrard will ask all his players to come over to the sideline so Salah can walk it in. It will be like that. I'm obviously exaggerating, but no. I think it's not going to be easy, but I think Liverpool will win comfortably. I've gone with 3-0 Liverpool for that game. I don't see anything being a shock there.
I've gone 3-1 Liverpool. No sweat. I don't think there will be. And I hope Liverpool win this, for once. I want to see the title race go all the way.
As much as I want to see the title race go to the wire, I think Villa will beat them 2-1. I think Liverpool, they've lost their nerve with the Premier League. That's the trophy they want the most. And I think that's what might slip them up at the end of the day. There are, of course, other big games still there. We've still got the relegation battle that hasn't been resolved yet. And if I'm not mistaken, Everton will travel to Watford. Even though Watford are already relegated, they'll still at least want to restore some pride, which has taken a big hit. Can we see Everton probably, consolidating their Premier League status this week?
I think it's the game to do it. However, I think they've gone on their high. They've got their high horse. I think their away form's just so bad. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I just think they're terrible away.
I think Everton will do it, and this will be the defining moment to kind of cement them staying up. Everton's away form absolutely atrocious all season, but this weekend just gone, beating Leicester away. Leicester can drum up a good atmosphere in the King Power Stadium. Winning away the way they did will give them so much confidence going into that game against Watford, who have been atrocious themselves. So I'm going 2-1 Everton.
Yeah, completely agree with you, Jordan. I think Everton are going to get this one over. They've seemed to have got it right at the right time, and I think they can start getting the deck chairs out. I think they're ready to go. I think they'll win this. I think they'll do a 2-1 as well. Interesting stuff there. There are, of course, some other games that are taking place in the league, Leicester, Norwich, and I don't think we're going to expect too much from that. But I think one of the ones we want to mention as well is Leeds versus Chelsea, the old school grudge match. Chelsea, there's a lot more run on this than I think we thought there was going to be. Leeds, of course, are still struggling after a defeat at Arsenal on Sunday, whereas Chelsea can't afford to slip up in this game because there are two other teams breathing down their necks who we will discuss in just a minute. Let's start with you, Jordan. What are you thinking? Are you nervous? Are you confident?
No. As remarkable as that sounds, I'm not as confident as I should be. And it's absolutely absurd to think that probably 3 weeks ago, we would have looked at this fixture and gone dead rubber. Leeds was safe. We were safe in third. And now you've got both teams kind of sweating for their lives almost. I do think we'll win, but not because we're in form. will win because Leeds are so bad defensively. They'll be without their captain, I believe. Why on earth he got that red? That's conversation for another day. But yeah, we need a win badly for the league. We need third place, and we need confidence to fight for Sunday, Saturday in the FA Cup final desperately. So I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea.
Well, I actually think that Chelsea are going to rest a few players because the FA Cup final's there. Obviously, resting players doesn't mean that much, and it's at Ellen Road. I've gone with 2-2. I think both teams are going to concede, and I think that will keep the relegation battle alive.
Yes, it's a real tough one, really. I think Chelsea are lucky that the two teams below them are so inconsistent. Leeds are going to be up for it because I would argue, this is a very important game, with a history between these two sides. And Leeds did show that they do have a lot of heart and passion, especially against Arsenal on Sunday. They're going to be up for it. But I look at the players they're missing with Cooper and Ayling and Bamford. I struggle to see where they are going to win. I think Chelsea will win it. I think they'll get themselves over the line there. I can see them maybe getting a very mucky 1-0 because I don't think they're going to expect a breezy game there against I think a much better Leeds side. Okay, so moving on to probably, I think, the most the eye-catching game of the week, which is taking place at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Thursday. We will have a Spurs and Arsenal 11 for you all in order to digest and argue over. But of course, we need to discuss this game. 4 points separate them. A win for Spurs will move within a point. A win for Arsenal will confirm Champions League for next season. A lot going on this game. Very, very massive. And it's something that they have wanted, that the neutrals wanted to see. There's a lot that's going on here. We're going to have to talk about it. Where do we see this going? I mean, I could get the ball rolling as the resident Arsenal fan, but I think we know what my answer is going to be. I'm going to fire it.
As always.
Who do you, not negative, realistic, who do you think is going to come out on top?
I'm going to probably agree with what you will say. I think Spurs are going to win because there's more. It matters more to Spurs. If Spurs lose, Arsenal have got top 4. So yeah, I've gone with a Spurs 2-1 win. I think they'll just do it. It'll be a Kane and Son double.
I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's a mouth-watering game, biggest North London derby in terms of size in probably a few years. Both want that Champions League spot desperately. I hope we're going to see an entertaining game. I think both teams will be going all guns blazing. And for me, I'm going to go for 2-2. Reece, what do you think?
As much as I'd take a draw or a win, I just don't see it. I think Spurs desperately need this, and Arsenal are in a luxury position where they can afford to lose this game. As much as they shouldn't think like that, I think Spurs will win this, and I think there'll be a bit too much for Arsenal on the day. In terms of a score, I don't know. Maybe a 3-1 Spurs, potentially 3-0. I just don't see Arsenal getting this one, and that's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing.
Yeah, it will still keep things interesting. We did miss one big game off as well, so we'll do a very quick score prediction for this one. Wolves v Man City as well. How do we see it playing out?
2-1 City. It won't be an easy game though.
Reece?
City will win it. City will win it. It doesn't matter.
What score?
3-0 City.
3-0. I'm going to go 1-0. I think it'll be tight, but City will get the job done. So for now, for this episode, that wraps us up. Again, always let us know your thoughts in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Here we go.